In the bustling corridors of a university campus, a chance encounter brought two individuals together. Janet Bassi, a spirited and confident young woman, found herself on a collision course with Saint Ophiong, who was lost in his own distractions. Startled by Janet's sharp exclamation, Saint turned his gaze towards her, finally torn away from the enchanting sight of Linda, who was blissfully capturing selfies, unaware of Saint's admiration. At that moment, Saint couldn't help but feel captivated by Janet's presence. As they stood face to face, her eyes shifted towards the direction that had so enthralled Saint earlier. She teasingly inquired if he was smitten with Linda, highlighting her undeniable beauty. Though a stranger to each other, Janet's boldness in initiating a conversation was a departure from the norm among the pretty girls of the University of Uyo. Intrigued by her, Saint couldn't resist engaging with this captivating beauty, who seemed determined to hold his attention. The two strangers found themselves exchanging pleasantries. Saint, mustering his courage, introduced himself as Saint, an unconventional name that invited Janet's playful speculation. He found himself drawn to her, as if they were kindred spirits destined to cross paths. Intrigued, Janet smiled again, causing Saint's heart to skip a beat. She revealed her name as Janet, and they continued walking together, their steps slow and deliberate. Amid their conversation, Saint playfully acknowledged his distraction, causing Janet to laugh. Despite their light-hearted exchange, Saint couldn't help but yearn for a way to see Janet again. With hopeful anticipation, he asked if he could have her number, a means to reconnect in the future. Janet, rather than sharing her contact information, proposed an alternative. She suggested that Saint simply share his department, promising to find him when her lectures for the day were complete. Though skeptical, Saint couldn't deny his interest in Janet, and he eagerly revealed that he belonged to the psychology department. Determined to test Janet's sincerity, he sought assurance that she would truly seek him out. With a confident smile, Janet reassured him that she would keep her word. They settled on a meeting time of 3 p.m., and Saint couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope as Janet started to walk away, her graceful figure mesmerizing him from afar. He watched as she receded into the distance, his mind filled with questions and anticipation. Despite not having her number, Saint couldn't shake the feeling that Janet was smiling as she disappeared from view. With a mixture of excitement and uncertainty, he held on to the hope that their paths would cross once more, eager to see if this chance encounter would lead to something more. Despite his striking good looks and high IQ, 24-year-old final-year student Saint Ophiong battled with persistent low self-esteem, which he attributed to his humble background. While waiting for Janet, Saint attempted to immerse himself in his writing, a story he had been developing for weeks. However, his thoughts kept drifting towards Linda, a third-year economics student whom he had dated for a year and who had caused him significant challenges during that time. Linda's constant demands for financial security strained Saint's relationship with her, as she prioritized money over love and belittled him in front of others. When she abruptly ended their relationship, Saint's heart shattered, and he pleaded for another chance, only to face further humiliation. Left with deep insecurities, he found solace in the unwavering support of his loving mother. Returning to his writing, Saint attempted to focus on his story. After a few minutes, he glanced at his wristwatch. 20 minutes past 3 p.m. Glancing out the window, he couldn't help but think that Janet wouldn't show up. He chided himself for expecting someone as beautiful as her to waste her time with someone like him. Lost in his contemplation, Saint was startled back to reality by a melodious female voice that resonated through the room. Looking up, he was astonished to find Janet standing there. She had kept her promise and actually arrived. Overwhelmed by surprise, Saint managed to stammer out an apology for his assumption that she wouldn't come. Janet's smile illuminated the room as she settled into a seat beside him. Her genuine presence captivated him, but he cautiously doubted her true interest. wary of getting his hopes up. Janet felt a deep connection to Saint, sensing his underlying emptiness that resonated with her compassionate nature and genuinely liked him. She learned that he was writing a story and expressed interest in reading it. Saint promised to share it once completed. Intrigued, she inquired about the storyline. He briefly explained to her that the story, titled Secrets of the Gods, revolved around a stolen golden medallion and a mysterious group of monks in Ibibio land. Janet's eyes widened with fascination, eagerly anticipating the opportunity to read it. As Saint began to pack up his books, Janet questioned his choice of writing on paper instead of using a computer. He admitted that he didn't own one, and quickly invited her to hang out somewhere interesting. United by their shared curiosity and budding connection, Saint led Janet out of the classroom. It was comforting to see that she didn't seem to act like they were strangers that just met each other today. The Ibibio monks gathered, their solemn figures reflecting the gravity of an unforeseen predicament. Their eyes remained fixed upon their esteemed leader, anticipation filling the air as they awaited his words. The theft of the revered golden medallion had shattered their tranquility, leaving their souls restless and devoid of solace. The magnitude of the situation surpassed their wildest imaginations, as they realized the fate of not only the world, but also the destiny of their own souls rested upon their shoulders. We have faltered, and perhaps we no longer deserve to tread upon this earthly realm. The master monk finally broke the silence, his voice resonating with a sense of profound responsibility. Like his brethren, his head was devoid of hair, his attire consisting solely of a crimson robe. Yet our demise alone cannot absolve the loss of the medallion. Pausing, he allowed his words to penetrate the hearts of his fellow monks. Before considering surrender, we must exert our utmost efforts. Retreat to your chambers. For the next 3 days, we shall observe silence and engage in deep meditation, abstaining from sustenance. A collective nod of understanding spread through the assembly. They carried the weight of their duty, knowing the world's fate hung in the balance. The recovery of the medallion was paramount, as their unwavering resolve would determine not only their salvation, but that of the entire world. With resolute determination, the master monk declared, "Let faith guide our steps. The medallion must be reclaimed before time slips away. This shall be our solemn quest, undertaken with unwavering devotion. We shall not falter until our purpose is fulfilled, until the medallion is restored to its rightful place."